welcome back to Badger Outdoors. Midweek, have a real simple wild camp tonight. No fires, no cooking on the fire, no hammock setups, anything like that. Going to keep it real simple. Lightweight, or relatively lightweight for me. 9 kilograms, that's wet weight, excluding the drone and the camera gear. So relatively lightweight for me. Highlander 44 with a bivy strapped on the back. Going to be an alcohol burner tonight with a ball in the bag. Really simple. Took me no time at all to bung all that lot together into the bag. 20 minutes straight after work out here, and then about a 45-minute walk. It's not too conspicuous. This is not a regular hiking route, but it's quite a lot of people hike it, so I don't look too out of place with that bag. And yeah, and I've got a couple of beers. I'm just going to sit here, watch the sun go down, watch the sunset, and cook my food, and yeah, sleep in my bivvy. I've got quite a few bivvies. This one is, I think, my second bivvy that I got. The first one was a mountain warehouse bivvy, which I've slept in a couple of times. Didn't breathe very well. It's literally just a bag and a pull cord. I don't really use that anyway. I don't use that anymore. So the one I've got tonight is a hooped bivvy, which is the Terra Jupiter Lite. I thought it was the Jupiter, but it's not. It's the Jupiter Lite. The Jupiter they stopped making quite a while ago, which was very nice, and had some really good reviews, and I thought that's what I was buying. I bought it off eBay, got a good bit of money off it. It arrived without a hoop, which is a real pain. So I had to find somewhere that would make a hoop, and I had to give them the exact dimensions, and thankfully they made that spot on. And it's actually slightly lighter now than the bog standard version. But anyway, I thought I was going to get the Terra Jupiter. I saw a great review from someone who used it out in Afghanistan, or used one out in Afghanistan, and it just seemed bomb-proof. So I thought that would be ideal. Anyway, I've got the light version. It turns out, I don't know what the difference is. The light version, they still make them. Anyway, I'll show you. I really like it. There are some bigger and better ones, but they're a lot more money, and I'll maybe talk about that. Right, here it is, packed up. It's pretty damn light. I'll put the dimensions up. I did write all this down, but I've left it on my desk, and I'm waiting for my wife to email it to me or to message it to me. But I'll go through the figures later on, and the other bivvies which are very similar, which you may want to think about. But this one, I can't remember the dimensions of it, but it's fairly small generally for bivvies. It weighs apparently 770 grams. Actually, this one weighs 700 grams with the pole that I got put in. You do get an aluminium pole with it, but for some reason my setup weighs just 700, which is pretty good. The rubber scent, which I have, which is a really nice, certainly I would say all weather, but it's too small for the winter. It's really a summer bag, but that's 100 grams lighter. So generally the hoops are basically about 100 grams is what you're adding on. Right, I reckon this will do. Obviously some pegs with it, just shepherd's hook sort of pegs, nothing special. I think I've lost one, so I've got my own in there, one extra. All right. Aluminium poles, which I got made custom. If you do need aluminium poles for your own, then, and you're wondering in the UK where to get them made, then drop me a message and I'll try and hunt down the people I used. But they were very good. Took a little bit of time, but yeah, just gave them dimensions and it was relatively straightforward. Right, that's tail end Charlie, so my head up here. I think it's relatively flat. That'll do. I'm not expecting anyone to come up here this time of night, really not. It's 20 to 8. I think people have got work and other things to do. and I don't think they care. Okay, so yeah, it's a hoop bivy and it's a top loader. Now, although I did get this top loader, I didn't really know much about bivvies, really about all the different types when I first got it. Personally now I like side entry, like my Corinthia, and there's maybe one I'll talk about later on that's a side entry. Top loaders I think are good if you're under a tarp, just a smaller space, less water in, less area to have to protect. Whereas a side entry can, I find I have a few snags here and there in bad weather, but no real big deal, to be quite honest. It's weird, and it's got the bug meshing on the outside. I don't know why it's got the bug meshing on the outside. And then the bug meshing and the actual rain part of it are covered together. So if I undo now, they're zipped together, and then there's another zip in there to separate them. So you can just have the bug mesh, and then if the rain does start, without having to undo the bug mesh, you just zip up the inside, and that's you then protected. Now there's a pull cord to tighten this up here, just the flap, just to keep it nice and sealed. So you can get this fairly tight, and then you can have this zipped up, but leave a little gap at the top. I've only ever slept with it. I've probably slept in it about 8 times, 7-8 times, and I've never had any condensation problems. It's really good in terms of its breathability. It's about 15,000 grams per meter squared per 24 hours or something like that. Yeah, it's 15,000 grams per whatever. So yeah, and rainproof wise, it's hydrostatic heads 15,000 as well for the material. I can't remember what the material is. It's some sort of well, I don't know what it is, some sort of nylon, coated nylon. But yeah, I've had this in a torrential thunderstorm out in Wales while I was bikepacking, and it was no problem, didn't get wet at all. It was a summer's night. Yeah, torrential, came out dry, beautiful. Right, that's priming up. Yeah, I mean, it's nice and lightweight, but it doesn't, you know, it's taking ages. I reckon, there we go, it's just starting to prime up now. So that's basically taken 2 minutes. I don't know how much fuel that's burnt. Oh, that's not stable. Nice little burner. I mean, it's going away quite nicely now. But yeah, it takes time to prime. I reckon that was 2 minutes to get itself primed up and ready. It's going for it now, but you do just waste that bit of fuel. What a beautiful night. What I've been doing recently is, because we're getting into tick season now, is spraying all my mats and things with I'll stick the name up. Permethanol, something like that. But yeah, just where I'm going to put stuff, where I put my boots when I'm hammocking, I spray it. I've got the top half of a German army ground sheet, and I soak that front and back, and I lay that down. That's where my boots go a lot of the time now, just because I've watched slugs head out towards it and they just touch onto it and then they're backing straight off and they're round and gone. Spiders don't go near it. They sort of, again, similar deal. I've never seen a spider on there, but it works. It's not the nicest of stuff, but you do it, you know, once in the season and you're good. We've got a lot of ticks around here because there's so many deer. But yeah, always do my boots, do the family's stuff, and sort of my normal sort of walking gear. It's worth it. My wife got bitten quite a long time ago now, about 2 years ago, and she just happened to find the tick, and neither of us really knew much about ticks, and we yeah, and the only way I could see the thing was using her phone and zooming in with the phone, and then suddenly I could see this thing buried itself in there. So pulled it out, and we just watched the area and did a bit of research, and sure enough, there came the bullseye over. You know, you get sort of a red ring around the area, really obvious. So she ended up going straight onto antibiotics. Thankfully, you know, hopefully that's it, and then she hasn't actually got Lyme's disease, and that cured the issue. But yeah, ticks are nasty little buggers, and so it's worth it in the UK, particularly where I live. So yeah, a lot of my gear just gets sprayed down, stuff that's on the ground. Yeah. Wow, what a beautiful night. The little midgy things have gone away. They're not vicious around here where I live. It's not like Scotland. Ball in the bag, beef hot pot. It's a bit shit, but it ain't the usual get the fire going and conjure up one of my, well, they always look like bloody disgusting, let's face it. I'm not a cook. They look awful, but they taste nice. Right, hopefully this is getting going. Oh, got this new mat, Brown's Bushcraft, sort of a waxy mat, just to put stuff on. Unfortunately, the first thing I put on it is half my beer, so it's going to need a little wipe down. Oh, I think we're nearly going. I think we are just about boiling. That's not too bad. Trouble is, it's not a Trangier. I can't now put it out. Just gonna have to let it burn. I put in too much. Should have just put in an ounce. Still getting used to it. But there we go. That was a mistake. So that's melted. Oh, I wasn't really paying attention there, was I? What a dumbass thing to do. I didn't think there'd be so much flame. I just thought it was going to... bollocks. Yeah, these Adventure Foods, I'll be honest, there we go, it's just going out. They're the only ones I really use, so I can't really comment on whether they're good or not compared to others, but I've never had a problem with them. I think they're really nice, except the beef hot pot. I'm not a fan of that. Right, where's the mark? There we go. Oh, it's taking it all. That's about right. So there we go. Fantastic. Great. What a beautiful evening. I'll have a chat. I'll give you some more details about the Bivy when the missus sends them to me tonight. So probably tomorrow morning, just go through and I'll just give you what the alternatives are, because there are some others, and there'll be plenty, or quite a few more I would think, but I can certainly give you the sort of stats for this, and I've done a sort of comparison in terms of percentages for the cost, for the volume that it takes up, for the weight, and so on, all that sort of stuff. And there are some other good options But this is, I think this is certainly good value for money. But I'll compare it to the others, and you can see what you think. But bivvying is a lovely way to do it. I'll be honest, 80% of what I do is hammocking. I think once you get into a hammock, it just becomes such a lovely thing to do, that it's so comfortable, and particularly at my age, you tend to have to go for that sort of thing. So I do about 80% hammocking, about 15% in bivvies, and about 5% tents. I've got a couple of nice tents. Tents are great, and they've definitely got their place. But for me, I want to be outside. There's the whole point. But a bivvy has got its place, and it's definitely, bivvy's got lots of downsides to them when it comes to the rain and weather and things like that. But I've been in a bivvy on the coast where the weather has been absolutely atrocious, and in terms of wind, and because they're such low profile, find a nice little dip. You fit perfectly in there, and chaos is happening around you, and I just don't care. I don't care about the wind. I don't care about the rain. Nothing is getting in to my bivvy if I've got a good one. However, the problem comes when you got to go out and go for a piss. Now, recently I went for a camp on the north coast, and that's exactly what I had. Torrential rain. I was in the Corinthia, so it's a good size, and I could take my piss bottle in there with me, so it was no problem. And it was just as well, because there's no way I was getting out of that thing with the amount of rain that was coming down. I would have just soaked it and soaked my down sleeping bag. So yeah, I had my piss bottle in there with me. But this one, a little bit less space. Oh, there's some bats around. And my rubber scent, I couldn't have had a pee in that. So a bigger bivvy is very important, particularly for if you've got a winter setup, if you've got a thick pad like I've got here. And this pad, I don't know how well it's going to fit in here. I certainly couldn't fit that pad and a winter sleeping bag in there, and without compressing the sleeping bag, and then therefore losing warmth. But in the Corinthian, yeah, no problem. So size is important for winter, and to take everything in there, particularly a big pad if you need that as a side sleeper. But yes, yeah, bivvies have got their place. Right, I'll talk through the bivvies tomorrow. I'll stop gassing. I'm gonna have my dinner now, and then I'm just gonna go to sleep. So I'll see you in the morning.
It's a beautiful morning. A little bit cold. I don't know what the temperature is. I'll have a look in a minute on my little thermo drop. But last night there's a little bit of rain actually just before I went to bed. Only a few little spits of rain. So I zipped this whole thing up. But because it is a bit cold outside, and I do breathe out probably a lot of moisture, and I was probably zipped up too much, I've got a little bit of condensation on the inside here, which is noticeable. I then unzipped, and it's I think it's improved a little bit. This 4-inch pad is very good. It really does make a difference. If you are a tricky side sleeper and you don't like ground dwelling too much, then, as most pads are probably I'm guessing sort of 2.5 inches. You can get some which is probably less than that, but go to 4 inches and it does make that difference. If you just let a bit of air out and until your hips are just above the ground, and actually it's reasonably comfortable. There's quite a bit of space in here actually. I thought with a 4-inch pad and my sleeping bag, and this bag will get me down to about -4, -5, something like that. This is the Spark SP3. Particularly, if I take my Rubber Scent bivvy out, that really is summer. I can't fit this 4-inch pad and a decent sleeping bag inside it. It just doesn't fit. It's too tight. Yeah, beautiful night. Woke up about 4:30. It's now about 5:15. Right, slowly get up. Check for slugs. No, it's too cold last night. Site is all clear, a couple of brain cells left, nothing else, no tree straps. Always check, always tell myself, check tree straps even if I haven't got them, because I've done that twice, left them. Oh, that was a good little bivvy. My fingers are freezing. The gear's gonna have to come out and get dried when I get home. It's gone in there a bit damp, so everyone's gonna have to come out and get dried. Fingers got wet, therefore they're now freezing. Bloody cold. Temperature last night went down to +3, so reasonably cold, a bit colder than I thought it was going to get. That bivvy, I do like that bivvy. It's really nice. So the Terra Jupiter Lite. What I'm going to do now is do a comparison, and so you can have an idea about what other options you would have other than buying that one, that I think are in the same sort of, well, they're hooped bivvy, although there's one clamshell in there. But I'll talk through those, but I'm going to have a walk first and just get my hands in my pockets and get everything warmed up a little bit. Okay, just a few stats then. So this is the Lite version, so the Terra Jupiter Lite. The Jupiter, the original, which you can't get anymore, that weight was 840 grams. This one is 770 grams apparently, but you'll find that things do vary a little bit. Mine's 700 for some reason with a custom pole. I've got no idea why there's such a difference there, because the pole is normally makes about 100 grams of difference. And then the material is 15D. The top material, 15D, yeah, it says 15D on the top material and 70D on the bottom, and hydrostatic heads 15,000 on the top and 10,000 on the bottom, so no worries about waterproof. You know, you go above 3,000 and you don't really have to worry, I don't think, about waterproof side of things. Certainly 5,000, but it kind of depends. You know, if you're in a really heavy storm, then you're going to want a higher number, so it's good, and I've had it out in a storm and no problem. In terms of dimensions, when it's all rolled out, it's 730 centimeters in length, so no problems. You can get a bag in the top as well. And then it's 70 wide and 45 high, and 45 centimeters high, that's up to the hoop, is okay for me. I'm reasonably broad and I can lie on my side without any problems and still, you know, not have an issue. Really, the good thing for me is the space that I've got down at the foot end, so any thick sleeping bag isn't going to be compressed. So yeah, so that's that one. But I'll give you some options now, other ideas. I forgot to mention the Jupiter Lite. I managed to get, I can't remember what I got it. I got it from eBay, but the lowest price I managed to find it online is £175. But if you go to look at the company, they sell for £275. Right, the next one I'll talk about is the Rab Ridge Raider, which I think is a really good comparable hooped bivvy. I'll put a picture up on the screen, but in terms of the details, I managed to find it for £314, although the company seem to sell it for about £350. So you're looking at about an 80% increase in price over the Terra. Weight wise 890 grams, so a 15% increase. In terms of volume, how much space it's going to take up in your pack, then you're looking at about 50%. Having done the sums, it's about 50% more volume that it takes up, which is quite reasonable. In terms of pack down, it's 32 centimeters by 15 centimeters. Dimensions wise, it's 240 by 80 width by 60 height. So if you think about the Terra, which was 45 in terms of height, it certainly gives you a lot more space within that hooped area. So if you're a little bit claustrophobic, then you're certainly going to gain from that. And it's definitely a bigger hooped bivy in terms of space inside. In terms of hydrostatic head, it's exactly the same as the Terra 15,000. It's also made of 15D material. I think it's made of Pertex now. It used to be the event material, which I have on my Rab Ascent, has event material, which is very good, but they've gone for the Pertex material now. Not sure why. Breathability, the Rab Ridge Raider has got wins there. It's got 20,000 grams, etc, 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 compared to the 15,000 that that Terra Nova claims. So yeah, the Rabs Ridge Raider I think is a really nice hooped bivvy, but which gives you that little bit more space, bit better breathability, same waterproofness, but the space, extra weight, it's a reasonable, you know, 15% heavier, but the big thing is the price. The price for me. So while it's the better bivvy, I think the price point just doesn't make it worth the value for money. So overall, glad that I went for the Terra Nova over that, and it was certainly on the cards, I do remember. Right, the next one is the Outdoor Research Helium, which is a really nice looking lightweight option, but it's not a hooped bivvy so much, it's a clamshell. So it does have some structure, I think, but it's just a different setup really. Okay, facts and figures for the Outdoor Research Helium. The cheapest I found it was £190, but the general price seemed to be about £225. So best case, it's about 10% more in terms of money. Weight wise, it's 484 grams. That's with no bag though, but that's still bloody light, and it's about 38% less than the Terra Nova, which is quite impressive. Pack dimensions 31 by 9 centimeters. So overall, it's about 50% lighter than the Terra Nova. Lengthwise 208, so slightly shorter, and then it's 66 at the shoulders down to 48, so a little bit bigger there. Quite reasonable. If you want to go lightweight, it's good. Lightweight with a hoop. It's definitely one to think about, but I would think about whether you're going to be using it in the winter, because I'm not sure you're going to be able to get a big sleeping bag and pad and everything else in it because of the size of the foot area. But it's made of Pertex. It's got good hydrostatic everything and breathability. Nice and lightweight. A little bit more money, but definitely one to think about. Yeah, quite a nice one. Right, and finally the Snugpak Stratosphere, which I think quite a few people in the UK seem to have gone out and got. Again, it's a hooped bivvy. It's got double hoops, and it's a side loader instead of a top loader. So that for me is something that would make it quite interesting. And I've certainly looked at it, but it's got some other flaws which kind of put me off, but I'll go through the stats. Price wise, it's £144. Is the cheapest I found, but generally about £160, so 12% cheaper. But where you pay for that or don't pay for that is in the weight, and it's 1,130 grams, so it's 46% heavier than the Terra Nova. So yeah, cheaper, but damn, that's heavy. Nearly 1.2 kilograms, which is the same as my Corinthia, which is much thicker material, much bigger bivvy, so although a lot more money, yes, admittedly, but there you go. So quite heavy, this Snugpak. Dimensions wise, 30.5 centimeters by 15.2 centimeters. In terms of volume that it's going to take up, it's about 50% more in terms of packing volume than the Terra Nova. Dimensions 230 length, so same length. Width wise 80 at the top and 60 down at the bottom, and then 50 in terms of height. So you got a little bit more height, but very similar sort of dimensions. Right, in terms of waterproof and material, it's made of nylon. It's 50D nylon on the top and 70D on the bottom. Hydrostatic head is 5,000 on the top and 8,000 on the bottom, so certainly not as good. It's waterproof, but it's not as good as a lot of the others. So it's really in a storm or something like that, then maybe you'd have some problems. But the one point that I have noticed online is people commenting about breathability. It's 5,000 grams per meter squared per 24 hours or whatever the figure is. But breathability, yeah, is a bit of an issue for it. But the nice thing about it is you got a side loader. It's relatively cheap. I do think it's a good idea, but you're going to have to pay for it in terms of weight and in terms of breathability. But yeah, there you go. So they're the 4 options. Okay, so that's the Terra Jupiter Lite. Overall, if you look at the price of that and compare it to those others that I mentioned, you know, it's really comparable to the Ridge Raider, but nowhere near the same sort of price. I do like the Rab because of the space that it gives you. It's a little bit heavier, but I think it's almost worth it for that little bit extra space. But the price point is just crazy, which is why I still think the Terra Nova is the better one. I do like the helium, I do like that clamshell idea, but the narrowness of the feet was the issue for me. The snug pack, the Stratosphere, side loader. I love side loaders, they are definitely my favourite, but I've got the Corinthia that I don't really have to, you know, that I can take out and use. But if you really do like the side loader and you're just going to get the one hooped bivvy, then that definitely might be the one for you. You've got to pay for it, not in terms of price, but you've got to pay for it in terms of weight. And then there is the breathability issue, which does seem to come up online about those, and they're a little bit more, it's a little bit more fiddly because you've got two hoops to get in. But you know what, for that sort of price, and if you're not going to use it that often, it actually is really good, and a side loader. So if you haven't got too much cash to splash, then definitely one to be looking at. Right, well, I hope you enjoyed my little video. I've got to say, this hang, the distance between these 2 trees here, yeah, that one there and that one there, it's just perfect. And then just looking out over the sunset levels, that's exactly where the sun would set, down over there. This would be a fantastic hang. It is right next to the path, which is right there. But you know what, last thing at night in the summer, I'm definitely going to come up here with a lightweight hammock setup. Last minute, I'll maybe eat beforehand, just come out here with a couple of beers and sit and watch the sunset from this location. That is fantastic. And whenever I have trees, I go for hammocks. But sometimes it is really nice, and I didn't know about this to be fair, but sometimes it's really nice just to, if you can find a location like this, to have a bivvy. Bivvies are great. There are some limits to bivvies clearly in terms of the rain, but I do like that if it is torrential on the coastline or somewhere like that, or up on a hill up here, and the torrential rain is coming down, I can hunker down in that thing and nothing's going to get me. The wind isn't going to blow the thing off the side of the cliff. You know, the rain isn't going to get in. These things are absolutely bomb proof if you get a reasonable one. But if you have to get out of it, that's when the problems start. If you have to get out of it in the rain, if you don't have a tarp. So you may want to consider taking a pee bottle or something like that. And if you're going to take a pee bottle, make sure that the bivvy is big enough for you to pee in, and that you probably want to practice it. Maybe not practice it, but just do a little dry run, if you know what I mean, to make sure that it's all possible. But a lot to think about if you are going to take a bivvy. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. Lightweight, midweek, keep it simple food, chuck a bivvy down, climb in, watch the sunset go down, and then I'm comfortably going to get back in time to get on with some work. So yeah, see you next time. Cheers.